Welcome. Thank you for everyone joining us, whether you're joining us through the SU Monty Facebook page or if you're joining us here on the Zoom call. We appreciate you guys taking your time in the afternoon to be with us today. Today, we're talking athletics. We're talking purposeful lives. We've invited the experts in to share with you a little bit of insight on what's going on in those areas. Some updates. We also have them here for questions for anybody that has questions specifically in those different areas. If you've joined us from last time, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. Just as a reminder, the videos will continue to be posted on the SU Monty Facebook page. So if you miss one along the way, you can always go back and watch it. There are surveys that can be filled out after each video. Mr. David Garrels will be continuing an update within the chat here and on Facebook of the link that you can go to fill out that survey. Please take the time to do that. It does a couple things for us. Connects us better with you. If you have specific questions, we get those answered for you specifically. And it allows us to kind of keep track of the attendance of who's been coming and going with the orientation sessions. So we also knew who to reach out to get further information to along the way. So once again, thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started. Mr. Bill Raleigh here, our athletic director, is going to start us off. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Matt. It's good. This is a unique way of doing these things, which is what we're used to in this day and age. But I just want to welcome everybody. And again, I think the biggest thing is going to be answer questions. I'll try to read through and get through this.
No, and there's no camera or anything.
But we'll try to figure out how to answer those questions going forward. Just a couple things. Obviously this is a interesting year. You guys just went through the most amazing year of my lifetime of having what you guys dealt with getting through high school and now starting college. Athletically, we're excited about getting started. Still a lot of moving parts because we just don't know where everything is at this point. I had a conversation with our president today, and we're committed to giving you the best experience we possibly can under the current circumstances. The current circumstances are going to change a little bit between now and obviously August 12th when school gets started, but we're going to be ready for it and going to give you guys the best opportunity. The things that I focus on, one, I'm very proud of the term student athletes. We are an NCAA Division III institution, meaning that you are students first. My biggest joy as the athletic director is watching people walk across the stage when they graduate after they had their time, had their experience, and was able to accomplish what they want to do on the playing field and practice court and all that stuff, but also get where they need to in the classroom. And we believe in that very, very importantly. It is a privilege, not a right, to be an athlete, meaning that we're going to put standards in place that hopefully you guys are able to get to and experience and be able to do well. But because we don't have scholarships, because you're not here, we're not paying you to be on a team, there's some expectation we have. We really believe in teaching you, you're adults first. You're now adults. It's now you have to advocate for what you believe in, advocate for what you want to do. You're making choices every day in your college career about what is great for you, whether you want to continue playing or not, whether you decide to join something else, whatever it is you want to do. So that's something very important. And in this day and age, personal responsibility. We're going to be dealing with the unknown of this COVID-19 and whether it's going to be wearing masks, taking care of yourself, making sure, because it's bigger than just you. One person makes a bad decision and a whole team season could be ruined. And we all went through that this past year. And I hope I never have to go through and have that conversation with another team or with a group of seniors that their career is over because of a decision that someone made. And this one is even more important because this is probably a decision someone will make because they just were not paying attention to what they need to. So that's where we are. We are at this point. We're excited about it. We're looking forward to it. Our coaches are working really hard. One of the things that all of you that are on a team, use your coaches as a resource. I try to filter as much information to them. They should be passing on to you. They are the first line of defense for you guys if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. There's no dumb questions. You guys are going through a life-changing thing. I just put 2 girls in college. My 2 daughters in college right now. My youngest just finished her freshman year. There's no, the questions they asked me for the last 2 years, just of the unknown. Please don't hesitate to ask those questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'd rather have you answer questions and have information before you get here and as you're going through it than to kind of think and know what, so you feel that you know what you're getting through. So they're a great resource for information, great resource for you on what needs to be done. And the big thing for us going in over the next couple months, especially with COVID-19, the athletic training paperwork should be getting out to the first years here in the next week or so. You're getting inundated with a lot of stuff. I understand that, but this is one of the most important ones. It's a health background thing. It's getting your now I'm getting old, forgetting what I'm saying. But what do they call it? Good Lord, Matt, help me out here. When you go to the doctor, you got to get screened for a physical.
Physical.
Yeah.
It's late in the day. It's been a long day, and I apologize for that. But your physical paperwork, your insurance paperwork, all those things need to be in. And it's more important this year. We need to get them in sooner than later because there's going to be a lot more hoops to jump through to make sure that we're all safe. So again, just to reiterate, and I'll try to see if there's questions out there. And I'd rather do it that way than for me to stand here and talk to y'all. But we're excited about doing it. I know the president is behind this, and we want to give you the best experience we possibly can. We don't know exactly what that's going to mean right now, but we are preparing for full schedules, full conference competition, NCAA competition, all that stuff. We're working on traveling, buying gear, all those things right now going forward as with the expectation that we're going to get there. We're working on the protocols and all those things that we're going to have to deal with just with the nature of the world that we are right now. But the big thing from you guys are, your students first. And to me, I'm a very simple person. You have a job to do in the classroom. You don't get to represent this university if you're not taking care of that business in the classroom first. And I have done it before. I will do it again. I will take a kid off a bus who's not going to class because they don't get a chance to represent us on the field if they're not taking care of the business in the classroom. You're adults. We expect you to act like adults. You're, growing up. You're responsible for what you do. Personal responsibility is going to be a big one just because, again, especially now with all the COVID stuff going on, your decision can affect a lot more than just you. And that's something that we're really going to make sure that we're doing things right, making sure we're keeping people safe, and that's going to be the goal. And then we're excited about it. We're glad to hear you. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions or, please, again, there's no simple ones. I can't answer everything, but we'll at least get you in the right direction.
Okay. Just non-athletic related, although we could probably maybe tie in athletics a little bit to it. Eva C. Rodriguez has asked, when will we know about the dorms we'll be staying in? I know you'll be starting to get information out from Rachel Cave, our housing director, very soon. Dr. Huber, is there more specific information that you can share right now?
Yeah, so what I would say is about the residence halls. This week we're having to shift and shuffle the returning students, and we're aligning everyone based on their athletic group. And so if you belong to the baseball team, for instance, then we're going to try to house you with the baseball players because you're going to be in close contact. Again, this is all in order to mitigate social distancing. We know there's certain groups that are going to spend time together already outside of the halls, so we might as well put them together in the halls so that you're not, we're limiting the interactions so that when we do, if someone does happen to have COVID-19, we can better do the sort of the tracing that occurs on the backside of that. Now, that being said, fall sports, so there's a priority list. If you're in honors, you're going to live with the honors group, regardless of what team you're on. So that's that group is separate. If you're in a fall sport, you will be with that sport first. So if you happen to play soccer and you are on the baseball team or track team, you're going to live with the soccer team. And so, and that will be by classification. So all freshmen. So if you're a new student, which on this call should be mostly new students, if you're a new student, you're going to live with freshmen within your sport. And then the returning students will live with the returning students within their sport. When I say live with, everybody has their own room. It'll just be grouped together by floor or wing, depending on the residence hall or apartment. So we're going to try to keep them as in close proximity as possible. That's just a big shout out to Rachel Cave, our director of housing. It is a logistical nightmare to shift and shuffle people, and it's a very complex puzzle to do that and to meet all of these needs. So she's working on that this week. The moment for the returning students, once we get all of the housing applications for students, if you have a Suitemate request, so you live in Faulkner, there will be somebody who shares a bathroom with you. The first priority will be that someone on your team, if you're on a team. So if you play volleyball, it'll be a volleyball player. If you're playing, whatever other sport, wrestling, anything like that, it'll be someone on that team. And then if there is an opening, you may, if an odd number and we need to put someone who's not on a team, we'll do those by request. So you'll have someone, probably another athlete, but if you know of someone on your team you want to be your Suitemate, you'll just need to email Rachel Cave that and let her know. Her email is rcave@schreiner.edu. I'm not seeing the questions on the chat. Am I missing them?
There's two other questions that from Facebook. So
okay.
We have Susan Nelson asking if freshman athletes are moving in early with our new move-in plan.
No.
Yeah, present time, no. The freshmen will be moving in with the other freshman groups. That'll be before we even get started. We're still having conversations about how the best way to bring the upperclassmen, because of the movement up in the school year, we're basically ahead or where the NCAA is to allow us to move in. So we will not, the freshmen, the dates that you've gotten are the dates that you'll be moving in.
Okay. And then Colton Hanover has asked if baseball is considered a fall sport because it has a fall season, like fall ball. If y'all can maybe define what fall sports are.
The fall sports are men's and women's soccer, volleyball, men's and women's cross country. Those are the ones we're starting right now. Then it goes tennis and golf will be the next two that start. Baseball, softball are spring sports, but they will have, and we're still working there, but they will have some form of fall season as part of their regular season, but it's very different. But that's something that we'll get to when we find out, how everything's working through. So it's going to take a little time.
Bill, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about just preparation for just fall sports, since they're going to be coming on? There's a little bit of less time of preparation with the team. Maybe talk about a little bit of things they can better prepare themselves, their body, to get ready to come into a fall season with a little bit of a shorter prep time.
Yes, they basically will have about 2 weeks of practice before games are scheduled to start. So it's a pretty quick turnaround for the fall sports. For everybody this year, conditioning and being in the best shape of your life is going to be most important, because with all these issues, athletic training is going to be very different than it's been in the past because of the nature of what we're dealing with. So you put yourself in the best position to be in shape. So use this next 2 months here, month and a half, to be in shape, be able to run, be able to do what you need to do for your sport, because it's a quick turnaround on top of school coming in with, you think about it in that short span of time between the 12th and the 1st of September, the 12th of August and the 1st of September, you move into a new place, you meet all new teammates, you're figuring a whole new way to play, you got a whole new academic situation going on, you're learning how to live with new people in the residence hall. And then we're throwing the COVID protocols on top of you that we're all trying to figure out and how to work that, going through that. There's a lot that's going to happen for you. So the one thing you can control right now is being in shape, because if anybody who's played athletics know that it's a lot more fun to play the game when you're in shape. And you guys have that opportunity right now. So I would take, that would be the first thing is, whatever it is, if you're, a soccer player, make sure you're doing the workouts that have been given to you and you're prepared, because that's going to give you the best chance for the quickest success in it.
You probably recommend too, not necessarily searching Google or anything like that for workout plan. Contact your coaches would be an okay thing to do, an appropriate thing to do to help them get prepared for as far as training goes leading into the season.
And I think all of them have it out there. I mean, all of them have reached out. If you haven't gotten one, reach out to your coach, because they should have something for you. And they have a plan in place. And most of them will have some form of conditioning test when you get back to start, which is kind of gives us the baseline of where people are. And it helps. You're going to go very quick at a very high level. And the last thing you want to do is have a pulled muscle or a tweak, something that you could have taken care of or had gotten through before you got there. So that's a big one. But yeah, again, use your coaches. They're a great resource. If you haven't heard from them, reach out. If you haven't heard from them, reach out to me. W Raleigh is my email at Schreiner.edu. So if you haven't heard from your coach, let me know, and I will make sure you hear from them, because that's something they should be doing.
One of the things that I always tell, especially fall athletes, especially those in soccer. So soccer is an outdoor sport. We play during the daytime. Our field our games are during the day and practices are during the day. I'm telling my 14-year-old who's going to play football in the fall for his high school, you can work out all summer long, but make sure you get outside and work out and let your body adjust to the heat. Because if you're not from the hill country, if you're from anywhere really outside of Texas and you're coming down here for the first time, it's going to hit you like a wave, and it's going to be the second day of practice, and you are going to feel worse than you've ever felt before. The heat is real. So get outside, get used to the heat, and let your body adjust to that before you get here. Cause that's a huge safety, thing. And I try to tell students all the time, go outside, work out, run, sprints, do all the things, just get used to the heat. However, whatever sport you are, be sport specific in how you exercise, but anything's better than nothing. Don't sit around all summer, play Fortnite, and eat Oreos, which is what my kid's doing right now. We did have two questions from Larissa McHenry. And I'll let Bill, this one's for you. Will we be getting our athletic gear when the season starts, or do we get that on move-in day?
You'll be getting it for your first practice. So they'll have a meeting. Again, we're working through some of the protocols, but it'll be after move-in day. When you get to the specific for your team. So they'll have that set up once we get kind of that program set, the coach will be getting to you saying, here's the way we're going to do it, because it's going to be a little different this year because of, again, COVID-19. That the protocols are going to be very, it's going to be kind of a slow group kind of getting started. So my anticipation is the first full practices will be the end of that first week of classes, where everybody, the whole team will be together. Prior to that, we'll slowly having smaller groups so that the coaches can work with you a little bit, but also making sure that we're adjusting and socializing, doing all the things we need to do to make sure that you are safe. We're working on those protocols. We'll get to them in a little bit, but to answer your question, no, you will not get your stuff the first day you move in. Move in is about getting in, getting comfortable, figuring out where you are, getting all that stuff started. But it'll be early in that first week. You'll be meeting with your coaches, getting everything we need done to get ready for the start of the season.
We had another question about, will we be limiting the number of people who watch or attend essentially basketball or volleyball games? Or soccer, I guess, limiting attendance at sporting events. I'm going to broaden it. The question was from Israel, only related to basketball or volleyball, but it really probably would go for soccer and all of the sports.
Yeah, I mean, we will be taking social distancing into play. The president right now is on the side of, we don't want to not have fans there but we don't know what that's going to look like. A lot of this stuff is going to be dictated to us by the local area, what we're allowed to do, how many people are allowed to be there. But the object is to try to make sure that our students are able to enjoy it, then the families, and then the visiting team. So the answer is yes. Don't know what it's going to look like yet, but again, our last conversation, Dr. Huber and I met with the president actually today, and that was one of the things that he's adamant about, is if we're going to do this, he wants to make it as normal as we possibly can. And that, we can manage the social distancing without a problem. It's just, we don't know what those limits are yet, but there will be opportunities to have fans at the games.
Another question was thrown out. When does basketball season start for us? Miguel Flores.
The first day of practice is October 15th. And the games start early November. So but they'll be, the sports that start after those first fall ones, they'll be starting once school gets started. You'll start having meetings. You'll start having, kind of planning stuff, making sure you get all your stuff in. Well, you're going to have to figure out how to do open gyms or, workouts, all that stuff. And all that stuff is in the planning stages, because we have to figure out what facilities are available, how we're going to be able to do it. What is the local community dictate? Right now our gym is not open. We've got to kind of figure out how to make it work. How do we balance it out and all those things? So there's a lot of it's coming on, but basketball starts practice October 15th and then play early November.
Another question was sent by Alessandra Jimenez, I think, unrelated to sports, but will our parents or anyone be able to help us on move-in days, August 6th and 7th, after being cleared from corona testing after 6 p.m.? And if so, what is the limit on the number of people that may help us? So I can answer this one. It's August 6th or 7th, so you'll be assigned one day. Just to let everybody, if you missed yesterday, we talked about move-in procedures. You will get a note saying August 6th is your move-in. Here's what time you need to report for testing. So you'll go probably to either our event center or the Eddington gym. You'll go in, you'll get swabbed. The swabs will be sent to San Antonio. We will run the test, and then we will courier those the results back to us, and we will send out text messages to everyone saying that you're cleared, or your COVID-19 test was negative. You're cleared for move-in. Once you get that text message, you can move in. Should be around 5 or 6 o'clock that evening. So Alessandra remembered that part. One question that we didn't get answered yesterday was how many people? So we are going to limit that, and I believe this year we will be limiting it to 2. And so what that means is if you have 2 parents, they both can help you move in. If you have 2 parents, 3 brothers, 2 step parents, 37 cousins, you get 2. So you've got to limit it to 2 people to help you move in, and that's just to sort of manage that down. Right now, that's the process that assumption we're working under. That may change if things open up and the world changes a little bit. It doesn't look like it is heading that direction yet, but if it does get better, then we may say you can bring 3. We may go the other direction and say you're only allowed to have 1 or no parents. So I would prep for no, thinking that 2 will be able to help you. But we do understand parents want to be a part of this move-in process for freshmen. Now that may be different for returning students. We may ask that returning students move themselves in, and we would provide help with our RAs and other friends. But for freshmen though, especially it's your first semester of college, we're pretty sure right now our target is to allow 2 people. But we've had people show up in the past with 8. And that's just, it's cumbersome and it's a lot of people. And so we're going to limit it to 2. Other question.
Yeah, Dr. Huber, there was another question from Larissa that asked about the Suitemates. If they had requested someone who's not on the same sport as them, would they get that Suitemate request or no?
Probably not. Sports are going to be prioritized over things. So, you get your own room, but you'll just have to work out who buys toilet paper.
And then our last question for you, Bill. Jake Patterson's asking about rifle practices and when those might start.
They will start early September. I don't have the exact date yet, but again, some of it'll be after, the nice thing is that you'll have 2 or 3 weeks of getting used to school before official practice starts, but your coach will be meeting with you and you'll be starting that process as well. But yeah, we will not start officially until last year it was around the 15th of September they started practice. I'll have to go back and check, but it'll be a couple weeks after you get adjusted. And that's that's one of the things that, again, I love about what we do at our level is, except for those sports that start immediately, the soccers, the volleyball, the cross country, everybody else kind of gets a chance to ease into it and get, especially their freshmen, the ability to adjust and figure out where they are before they get into their season. We really work with the ones that start in the fall to help them kind of through that and making sure they're making the adjustments. But the other ones kind of get to ease into it, which is a good thing. And this year it's going to be a little bit more because we're going to be still working through some of the protocols of the COVID and how to make this thing work, because it's going to take a little time. But again, I'll end up with, for me, just, to reiterate for you guys, you use your coaches as a resource. They are there for you. They're getting a lot of information. If they're great for me, if someone asks them a question, how do we, it helps me get it through to Dr. Huber and up the chain of command, saying, here's questions that are happening from our first years. So what needs doing. It helps then everybody, because it helps us look through this whole process. But hope that's it. Again, we're excited for y'all. We're looking forward to it. We're working really hard to be ready for it, and going to be a great year. But the bottom line is, your safety is the most important thing. And sports is great. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's a great part of it. But really, it's your safety first. That's everything. Everybody at Schreiner right now is concerned about making sure you guys are as safe as possible. Secondly is your academics. We want to make sure give you the chance to be successful and be able to become productive members of society and be, achieve your goals. And then finally, we want to give you the best athletic experience we possibly can. I think we can do those three. So, all right.
Okay. Well, I don't see any questions for you right now, but just know if y'all have a question, or maybe you missed a question from you guys, fill out the survey at the end of the video. Davis and Pace are posting the link. You can go in there and you can continue to ask us questions, and we'll get them to the right people to make sure that you get the right answers directly from those individuals in charge of those areas. We are going to transition now to Reverend Kelsey Penn, which I believe I see her right there in the middle of the screen joining us, where she's going to be speaking about the Purposeful Lives program. Kelsey, hi, how are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm good. Coming live from my upstairs office that's been my home for the last 2-3 months.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are in that boat. Some of us not as much as maybe as the 2 or 3 months going on there, but welcome. We appreciate you joining us today to talk about Purposeful Lives.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start off by saying all of this could change. So Purposeful Lives, I don't know how much you guys have heard so far about the Schreiner experience. Part of Schreiner's goal to live out our mission has been the creation of 3 positions. We have a coordinator of Purposeful Lives, which is me. We have a coordinator of meaningful work and a coordinator of changing global society. And we all do different things, but for the sake of right now, just so you understand, I'm under the umbrella of the Schreiner experience. Like Dr. Goodman said, my name is Reverend Kelsey Penn, and I am talking at the moment about Purposeful Lives. So Purposeful Lives has a couple of different things that we do. One of the ones that I would really like to highlight is access to service learning courses. This may look a little different in the upcoming mini semesters, shorter semesters than in longer semesters, but you have access to courses that include a portion of some sort of service. And I'm working with our professors who do service learning to make sure that we're fitting all of the guidelines. A good example in the original one that we had was a technical communications course. It's an English course that a lot of majors require. And one of the things that they do is everything that you're learning in your course relates to the social issue of homelessness and access to housing. And they partner with a nonprofit in Michigan called Suitemates that hands out scarves and gloves to people experiencing homelessness. And so part of your coursework is one, learning about homelessness, and the other part is you learn how to knit a scarf. And I know that sounds crazy. You're like, what am I doing in an English class learning how to knit a scarf? But technical communications as a course can be like a little bit boring. You're learning how to write memos and make pamphlets and infographics. And so Professor Hane is the one who teaches that, and she sort of grounds all of those things around one topic of homelessness. And then you learn how to knit a scarf for extra credit. And your final is to present. I'll use an example. One of my interns a few years ago, his final for his like technical communications class was he made a rap video about homelessness and how to knit a scarf. And we have service learning courses across like all of our disciplines. I'm thinking one of my favorites that probably won't happen this semester is in some biology courses. They do 4th and 5th grade science day with Kerrville Independent School District. And one of my favorite projects that they did, that one class did, was they turned the inside of a classroom into the inside of a cell and gave like little passports, and like the 4th and 5th graders had to get like different parts of their passports stamped by parts of the cell. It looks different in all of our classes, but it's a really interesting way sort of for you as students to apply the knowledge that you're learning in your classroom out in the world immediately, rather than having to wait for when, when you're in graduate school or working. So one big highlight, the way to find service learning courses is to look, this is like a technical detail that you can just store for later knowledge. At the end of the course codes, when you're registering, there's a little S that stands for service learning. And it's a really cool way to learn. I'll also say that there's a big benefit to taking a service learning course, because you can get a certificate in Purposeful Lives. And that goes along with your degree. And you may be wondering, like, why do I want a certificate in Purposeful Lives? It not only shows that you're like a bright and shiny human being who has done interesting things and engaged with society while you are in college. It looks good on paper. It looks good to present to future employers or to graduate schools. And it just shows some added civic engagement during your time with us at Schreiner. There are 4 things to get a certificate in Purposeful Lives. You have to take one service learning course, so one of those courses that I just mentioned. You can also replace that course with a service learning trip, which I'll talk about in a second. So one service learning experience, 25 hours of community service for every year that you are a student at Schreiner. So if you are graduating in 3 years, that's 75. If you're graduating in 4, that's 100. And that's cumulative. You don't have to be like 25 hours during my freshman year, 25 hours during my sophomore. And that is any volunteer experience on campus, off campus, at home, during the summer, over breaks. Just keep track of that. And I'm working with David Garrels to make sure that we have a place for you to track that in Presence. If you haven't heard about that yet, someone will tell you eventually. So the third part, first part, service learning experience. Second part, 25 hours of service for every year you're a student. Third part is one public presentation of some sort about any of your service experiences. And then the fourth part is actually a reflection session with me. I also have like a form that you can fill out if you prefer to like type it out or write it out instead of like have a conversation with me. But it's more to make sure that you have kind of like tied all of your experiences together, neat little bow, and are ready to go for your certificate. I can pause for some questions. I realize I'm like talking straight through.
No, you're good. I'm not seeing any questions just yet.
So I'll say one of mine that is still sort of a question mark in the air. Usually Purposeful Lives provides on-campus volunteer opportunities. I'm exploring different options for what that will look like for us. We have like food drives, food bank. We usually do this really fun thing at Parents Weekend where we do this like huge meal packaging event. Some of those things just are gonna need to look a little different. Sometimes we have blood drives. And so I'm working with all of our partners to kind of figure out how we can do that. So that will come, but I'd like to recognize that not everyone can find time for volunteering off campus. So we like to provide on-campus opportunities. We also have a partnership with a local after-school program. We actually help them start their after-school program. It's with the Doyle School Community Center. And I'm in conversations with them right now too about, are we doing after school? How is that going to look? Their organization just got some really big grants, which is awesome. And they're doing a bunch of construction to their community center. So stay tuned for volunteer opportunities. One of the big things that I am hoping for is we do alternative spring break trips. So typically I have switched between what I call sort of driving distances and flying distances. So for example, this past year was a driving distance. Unfortunately, spring break kind of hit at right as the pandemic was unfolding. And so we were slated to go down to the Texas Gulf Coast to do hurricane relief work. We ended up actually redirecting and going out to Moe Ranch, which is just a quick drive from Schreiner. And we did some volunteer work there for them to get them prepared for the summer. And then the year before, I took a group of 10 to Puerto Rico to do some Hurricane Maria cleanup. I typically go through the Presbyterian Disaster Assistance Agency because I know that they are vetted, they're organized, they can make sure that everyone will be safe and we will have work to do. It's just a way to spend spring break giving back to the world. Let's see. I think I have covered all of Purposeful Lives. I know that was not a lot of concrete answers. For you, as the majority of you who are incoming freshmen, the big thing is to just, if you are volunteering, keep track of when and where you do that. And if you see service learning as an option, it's always an interesting way to engage with your classroom.
So Kelsey, maybe talk a little bit about the benefits of taking advantage of a program such as this post-graduation as you build up your resume within college, of how this is a benefit not only to them, but the communities that they might be involved with after they graduate.
Sure. So part of like the larger learning that happens as Purposeful Lives as like an entire experience is sort of helping you solidify your own definition of civic engagement. Civic engagement is a word that floats around. Everyone's looking for it. Employers are looking for people who are civically engaged. Graduate schools are looking for people who have demonstrated civic engagement. A real understanding of who you are in your local community, in your larger community, in the world, and how you want to participate. So Kendall, Purposeful Lives has a component of community service. So volunteering, community service has like one little piece, and that's part of the whole of Purposeful Lives. Hope that is helpful.
There's a question here. Janelle Rodriguez asking if the service learning courses will be an option during the mini semesters.
I am working with the professors who had already designated. So I mentioned like the technical communications course. That one doesn't have like any like outside interaction. You're learning all your community partner, which is like the fancy word for like whoever it is that you're partnering with. That class can continue because you're learning about a specific social issue and also learning how to knit, and those things are just being mailed. There are some exercise science courses that probably will not be able to function as service learning because it was because they're like direct contact kind of courses. So a lot of courses that are in, let's say, education, in English, in psychology, in graphic design, a lot of those will probably still be designated, but some of the ones that are like direct partnerships with like nonprofits in our area, they may not be. I'm trying to like work that out. There's like some nursing and pre-nursing courses that have been doing work with the Doyle School Community Center and in the Doyle neighborhood. And we're trying to figure out, can we adapt those courses for like a digital presence or a lower contact?
It's an interesting time as we are figuring this out as well. I'm sure most everyone in their own hometowns are figuring it out. And you're seeing that, right? And we're seeing the creativity that has to come with kind of the new phases of planning ahead, where we might not be able to be in a physical location with people, and having to find different ways around to engage in civic type of community interaction. So be patient with us. We're as everyone else in the world, we're doing our best to put this together for you to have a great experience for you. That's our purpose. That's our drive here.
And I'm working on sort of working in lieu of some sort of larger conversations about justice and society and community service and civic engagement. We're living in a really unique time. A lot of inequities in the world have been laid bare in the most recent months. And so how do we, as a Schreiner community, respond to that as part of our own experiences of civic responsibility and civic engagement? So a lot of interesting things, a lot of conversations that can be had about what it means to be community and what it means to respond.
So Kelsey, there's a question from Elaine McMurray about BS in nursing. Are there service learning opportunities for that?
Oh, absolutely. So lots. There is a public health in nursing, a public health component that's almost always service learning. Your hours, your clinical hours can count towards service learning. And then this is like an upper level nursing course, but they have a particular course in leadership that has a lot to do with mentoring your young, like, so if you're a senior in nursing courses, you mentor a junior. If you're a junior, you mentor like pre-nursing students, and it's a leadership component, and that counts. They almost always designate that course. So the answer is yes, lots.
Great.
Awesome.
So I want to give everyone too the opportunity. It doesn't, if between the three of us here, and there's several other people that are logged in with us. I think Amanda Thompson was watching, and William Woods from the other night are on with us, and we've got several resources. But if you have a question really regarding anything, orientation, virtual or otherwise, doesn't have to be Purposeful Lives or service learning or community service geared. And I know Bill Raleigh had another meeting that he ran off to, but I can answer questions on athletics as well. And so Kendall asked, since I'm planning to be a graphic designer in the future, are there any learning opportunities, I'm guessing service learning opportunities for graphic design? And before Kelsey jumps in, I do remember we had some graphic design students work with local nonprofits to design logos. And I think that might count when you're serving.
Yes.
I don't know, Kelsey can answer.
That is another one of the big yeses. Graphic design does a lot of partnering with nonprofits, with businesses, with different parts within our Schreiner community, at multiple levels of graphic design courses. So basically, anytime as a graphic designer in Schreiner courses that you are designing something for someone else, Those are designated service learning courses. So like we have a community garden at Schreiner, and there was a graphic design course, or there was it was a graphic design course, but within it, they had a project to design the logo, a bunch of different like infographics and things like that for the community garden, which was a really cool thing to watch because it really helped kind of elevate the awareness of our community garden on campus. So also, as an aside that has nothing to do with Purposeful Lives, I'm going to echo Dr. Huber. I am a Schreiner alum and I played soccer, and that heat is real. Drink so much water. Like, start your water intake now and make sure that you are like always super hydrated. Practice outside, safely, but like get used to that heat now, because when you show up for 3-a-days and that like 1 to 4 o'clock practice exists, and you like, if you are a person who gets sunburned and you've like lathered yourself, and you're gonna get sunburned, and like you don't want to be dehydrated on top of that.
It's true. Pay attention to your season differences. High school seasons sometimes don't match up with college seasons. As a former alumni soccer player for Schreiner, you quickly realize that a summer, fall soccer season is a lot different than a winter season in high school. So pay attention to that. I think I'm not seeing any questions here on my side. Anybody else seeing any questions on your side?
I'm not. We'll do a last call for questions. If anybody has any, we'd love to have you guys jump in with any questions we're here to answer as a group. And
you can also follow Purposeful Lives on Instagram and on, we have Snapchat running right now. I can chat those in.
So I do want to remind everyone, David's worked really hard to put together this survey so that we can prove that you came to orientation. And by entering the survey, you'll have a chance to win some awesome prizes for attending orientation: t-shirts, other cool things. A cruise to the Bahamas is not going to be given away. A chance to enter David's office and pick out your favorite action figure is on the list from all of his stuff there.
Watch it.
The Lego Millennium Falcon right there in the corner of the screen. It's very bottom corner. You can have that, but you got to win the drawing.
I call Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I do want to tell you there is a drawing, but it's not a free drawing for those things. It is a $600 per ticket drawing. So anything in my office, so that'll work. I'm not sure if I can do that online.
Nothing in his office is worth $600.
We do have a question though from Janelli. It says, in regards to class schedules, I've noticed that it has changed a few times, but when will it be finalized for sure?
So for freshmen, it'll you should be being contacted by an advisor. Janelle's a returning student though, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, returning students, that'll be finalized in the next week or so. I know that the system automatically generated a schedule that was wrong, and I think we're going through and fixing those now. Is that correct, Dr. Woods? Yeah, so
it is. That is correct, and we understand any frustration that y'all might be feeling, particularly our returning students and our brand new students coming to us. There's as you've heard again and again, we're doing what we can and the best that we can. But I think generally, we are absolutely locked in now. The schedule that you're seeing up with, there was like 2 little classes that Miss Banster was working on this afternoon and Dean Davis, but I think that we have got our schedule in place. Hallelujah. We're ready.
Yeah. At our dean's meeting, I left the dean's meeting this afternoon thinking tomorrow morning, everybody should 100%.
We feel pretty confident. Yeah.
They were going to fix a couple small things, but they pretty solid right now, but in the morning you'll be set. If you have any questions or there's something wonky, reach out.
You send those to Bill Davis, Dean of Faculty.
Exactly. All emails. Everyone email Bill Davis all the time. Questions, complaints, everything. He's not on this meeting, so he good for him. Are there any other questions on the Facebook feed, David, or?
I'm not seeing any more. Just I have put the link in there a few times for that attendance survey. Please make sure to do that. If there were some questions that maybe you weren't comfortable asking to everyone, that's watching, you can also, there's a comment section on there as well. So please put those questions there, and we'll get to those as soon as we can, and make sure they're sent to the right departments for you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And if you did fill out the survey last time, you can fill it out again tonight. You fill it out each time you attend. You get a drawing for every time. So increase your chances to win and questions. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody.